that is approved. So there's not too much for me to kind of go back and forth unless there's issues. Now, you guys get into a lot of research that's a little bit different from the other schools and the other disciplines. So we usually do some conferences, but between Lorianne, myself, and Dr. Lyons, we have a great working relationship, and we talk about you guys when needed. All right, so the agenda for this is I'm just going to review the functions of an IRB. I guess I should ask, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to do a review of the functions of the IRB, why we're here. We're going to walk through the application process. Hopefully we'll have time for Q&A, but like I said, if you have any questions, just feel free to turn your mic on and ask. Due to time constraints, we're not going to talk about the following: pilot studies, amendments, full applications, and preliminary needs. So if you need a preliminary letter, that's not going to be discussed in this one. So the purpose of an IRB is just a review committee responsible for reviewing the research study at hand and determining whether the study poses any risks to human subjects. Basically, we're just looking for the benefits to make sure that the benefits outweigh the risks and that we are protecting human subjects. The functions of the IRB include approving the research, also looking at required modifications. We can also disapprove your research, conducting reviews consistent with federal requirements and institutional policies. We verify that no material has occurred since the previous review if something comes back through a quality check and we look at your final produced manuscript and something was missing, we can go back and ask you to reverse your research. We observe or have third party observe the consent process and research if needed, and we can also suspend or terminate approval. So I put this in here because, like I said, I do like counseling. You guys kind of have your stuff together, but I just want you to understand that we are reviewing your research proposal in your direction for the first time. So whatever you give to us is whatever we receive and process. So if you're missing key elements or we don't know where your research is heading, it's very difficult for us to approve or even give you changes to look at in accordance with federal regulations. So make sure that you are indeed putting in all of the detailed information that you think that we may need to see. If it's a little bit more verbose, that's okay, as long as it's in there. But please don't write us a dissertation for your application. That is something that can be a little bit heady when we're going through it and reviewing. But it's your responsibility to paint a picture of your research for us. If you kind of don't understand your outcome, we're not going to understand your outcome. And therefore, you probably need some more time to recraft your research proposal. So the importance of obtaining IRB approval. Basically, IRB approval states that you have taken the steps necessary to prove that your research will do no harm to human subjects. If it does have harm in it, that we have outweighed the harm with benefits or with the benefit of the research at hand. So if you conduct research without obtaining IRB approval, you may be in violation of federal regulations and use these institutional policies. And this could lead to reapplication of IRB as well as rewriting your dissertation, but I doubt that will happen. So the research results and data collected will not be considered valid, and this can lead to wasting resources, time, and in extreme cases, harm to participants. So just make sure that you are dotting your I's and crossing your T's through this. So the application process. Now, this is where my job diverges. Okay, so there's two different sets of application processes right now going on at UC. One is the portal, which you guys in counseling are not in, and the other is the old system. So as I walk through this application process, I'm going to walk you through the process that you are going to be using specifically, which is a little bit hidden because the other departments are using what we call the UC portal to submit their IRB. So hopefully this is going to provide you with a little bit of clarity in where you need to click and where you need to go. So the first step that you should be taking is just going through the application steps. The application steps are set up so that you take a quiz at the end of each one. So the first one, you're going to review the research process. Actually, there's a step 0. Please disregard the step 0 for your department because that is for the portal. I'm going to give you the same instructions on this, but catered to your discipline. So you can substitute the step 0 for this recording. So step 1 is going to tell you a little bit about IRB and the research process. You can go through the presentation. Step 2, if you haven't done so already, you're going to go through the city training. Okay, after you complete the city training, please make sure you download and save that certificate. You're going to upload that in your application. Okay. Step 4, you're going to start your application creation through a Word document that you're going to send back to your chair to get feedback, to revise before submission in the system. Okay. Step 5 is you're going to complete the Word application. Well, that's when you're going to send it back. And then step 6 is where you're going to get the link to submit to the system for IRB approval. Okay. Completion of the application. Please ensure that you are using the correct application, and this is in step 4.1. So when I start talking about steps, there's many steps within a step. So when I say 4.1, I'm talking about step 4 here, and that's going to be the first step within that step. So these are the categories for exempt study, expedited, and non-expedited or non-exempt study. This means full. Okay. We do not have non-human subject research here at UC. Okay. That normally is a practice in IRBs. We don't have that. We either classify you as exempt or expedited. It may be considered non-human research. I may put that in your feedback that it is approved under non-human subject research, but you have to go through the exempt application for UC. Any questions so far? No? Okay. And I'm not sure about your proposal process, but I'm sure that you do speak about what application you should be using before you go through this. If not, you can look through 4.1 to figure out which one best suits your needs. Okay, so where to find the application links? And I tried to put this, I know you guys are going to have to drill down a little bit, but I tried to put this in the most streamlined way possible. So the mock-up of the application, which is the Word document that you're going to use, this is going to be in step 4 of the IRB. You're going to go to 4.2.2 for the exempt, and you can download the Word document. 4.2.3 for expedited. Okay. Now the application links to officially submit in the system is going to be at the end in step 6. Okay, so that's going to be the last step that we have in the IRB steps. 6.2 is exempt and 6.3 is expedited. Do not use the portal directions. Okay, this is what you're going to look for. You're going to look for students in DSRT 931 and 932. I'm not sure why they put it this way, but this is how they have it. So this is what you're going to look for, and you're going to use a Microsoft Office form. It's not going to be in the portal. So if you have previously tried to submit in the portal, you're not going to be able to because you don't have topic approval. So that whole kind of cascade of events need to happen first before you can go through and submit IRB. So that's why we're going to have to go through this workaround, which is the old system, which I like much more than the one I'm using now. But anyway, application needs, question 1. So now I'm going to walk through the questions. Some of them I'm going to go really fast because they're explanatory. Some of them I'll spend a little bit more time on in case you have any questions or you need to work through it. So for the question 1, you're going to submit a screenshot as evidence of your chair approval. Okay, this is not your topic approval. This is your chair saying, yes, you can go ahead and submit for IRB. Please note that it must be current within the last 2 weeks. If you take a break over semesters and you try to submit when you come back, but you have approval from before you left that other semester, I will deny it and you'll have to redo it. Okay, so make sure that your chair approval is current within the last 2 weeks. If your application was denied for missing something or needing to add something else to it, please make sure that your chair states that you are resubmitting the application. So I know that they looked at the changes that you made and approved of that, and it's coming back to me for review. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory, but just make sure those 2 are there. Those are the key. For your first one, it's just your chair approval. Most people do get approved on the first submission, so it's only if you do get denied that there is a note for approval to resubmit. Question 2, is this your first IRB submission, yes or no? Okay. Your topic approval. Now, this topic approval is basically set for the other disciplines. This is not for you guys, but I can't change the form. So I need to kind of work with what I have. So instead of using this as the topic approval form, I need to see your proposal document form. So your approval for the proposal should be uploaded there. I believe it's just either a cover page or something that you can even have your chair write that your proposal was approved just for validation. And I can go on with that. That says to me that your topic is approved and your research methods are approved. Any questions so far on those 2? I know you're kind of drilling down a little bit, so.
Mickey, I wasn't sure.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I wasn't sure that all the students knew how to get to the IRB. So I put the organization information in the chat if anybody needs it.
Perfect. You should all be registered for that. I do have instructions on registration. I can send that in the chat when we're done. It'll take me a minute to look for it.
I uploaded it.
Oh, you're so great. Okay. So yes, please look at those. And then that can allow you to go in and register and you'll have access to all of this.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I may have missed this and I apologize if I did, but for question 2, is that IRB in general or just IRB at UC?
IRB at UC.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Yeah, we're only concerned with the application at the time. Let's see.
Also, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I'm not able to see the chat feature.
Who was that?
Half second.
Sorry, this is Doreen Kaptari Shiri.
Okay, Dorn.
Yeah, I can't see the end either. This is Diana.
I don't either see it.
Matt or Jana, any idea why that would be?
No, I'm trying to figure that out. I can't see it either.
Yeah, I can't either. I've never had that happen, Lori, unless it's a setting in the It should be able to change it though if it was. I'm going to call that a
I do
Microsoft
see
Teams
it.
glitch.
I know per se, this is Dorina again, when I joined with my UC account onto another Microsoft Teams where I was the guest, that was a situation in which I couldn't see the chat because I was the guest. But I think this is through UC, so it shouldn't be the issue.
Yeah, this shouldn't be that issue. All right, I'm gonna try to figure this out. No promises, but
Let me
see.
stop sharing and see if I can change it.
Well, I'm in the settings and I don't see anything that would.
Because I don't have it either. I don't have chat. All right. Well then. So if you go into your Teams on the other side, if you go into your Teams, oh, it's not in here. Okay.
Well, I have the attendance report, so I can email everybody the handout.
Perfect.
So as soon as the meeting's over, I will do that. Okay.
I'll give you, I'll also provide you with the slides
Okay.
for
That's good.
tonight.
Yep.
That you can include that too. All right. Where was I? Okay, question 4. Is there any other questions before I continue on? Okay, great. All right, so this is your city certificate. This is what it should look like. 2 things that I look for is that you're doing the current course, which is the social and behavioral research basic refresher. And then I also look for the dates to make sure that it's not expired. So if you could do the same, great. And make sure that you have that uploaded. You'll also see here after you're done, if you don't save a certificate, you can always copy this link at the bottom. This is your verify link. You can always use that link to go back to your certificates at any time. You can also use that link to give to me, but that's another step for me to do. So please just upload your certificate. Thank you. All right, question 5, site permission and data use permission. So this is probably the one that I get most of the questions on. So what I'm looking for in the site permission is that you are able to have approval from maybe it's an organization, maybe it's a school district that says, yes, you as the researcher can come in, or they will distribute your survey to the employees in that organization on your behalf. And that's what we're looking for there is a letter of agreement. If you are using secondary data and you receive secondary data from someone, I'm looking for the data use agreement. The data use agreement is just pretty much a signed letter that said, hey, it details exactly what is the data you're getting, where are you getting it from, who approves it, how is it de-identified, who de-identified it, and who's holding the primary key. Okay, so that I know that the information that is given to you is given to you under the approval or under the knowledge of the organization that's giving it, and also that it has been de-identified. Because there were times where people would get data sets that were not de-identified and did not know the difference. So I just I run through the data use agreement so that, number one, if you're not educated on it, you are now, and that you make sure that you are not using personally identifiable information if you don't choose to. Permissions for recruitment of participants through closed private social media groups. The keyword here is closed, okay? Also, if you're using any listservs that are not public and you need approval for that, I need to see the approvals for that. And then organizations' websites, for example, if you're going onto an organization with your recruitment information, just a signed letter that says, we know this researcher is going to use our website for this reason for their research. We are no way responsible for the participants, answers, but we will post for recruitment. Finally, we're looking at international recruitment. International recruitment is acceptable, but there is a list of details that you need to go through for international recruitment to make sure that we understand your intent. So let me get into here. And this is, if you have a link to the IRB and research site, you will find the information for all of this and the different steps. So the letter of agreement, if you want a template for that, you're going to go to step 5, 5.3, section 4 under subject recruitment. You'll see a template. Permissions for recruitment. This is just a screenshot that I need sometimes of Facebook, social media sites from the admin that says, yes, you can post it. Say you're going to a local mental health clinic and they have a Facebook site for the area of Chicago, and you want to post your recruitment there because that's where your target population is. All you have to do is, if it's a closed group, ask for permission to post your recruitment material. They say yes, take a screenshot of that and upload that with your IRB application, and that suffices. Okay. It doesn't have to be in depth. It doesn't have to be, a big to do. It's just a simple request and permission granted. Please make sure though, when you are requesting from closed groups or any type of recruitment material, you tell them the purpose of your research, what you're looking for, pretty much half of your informed consent. Okay, so what's your purpose of your research? Why are you doing it? And if there's any risks or benefit to your research. The data use agreement can be found in section 8 of 5.3. So that basically, in the data use agreement, it's a template that you can use to fill out. There is also above that different categories that constitute personally identifiable information and what is regarded as such through the university and federally. So that's what we look for when we're looking at personally identifiable information. The international recruitment template you'll also find under section 4 on the subject recruitment. And that is also a template. Yes, Erin?
So the templates, are they only if you need one, like the letter of agreement that I use or that I just received from the school district that I hope to do some research in? They have their own. Is that okay?
Yeah. Just as long as it states everything that I'm kind of looking for. I'm sure it does if it's coming, if they already know how to do that. That's just there in case you need, some wording for your agreement. But good question, Erin. Thank you.
Thank you. Just wanted to double check.
Yeah, no problem. Did somebody else have a question? I can't see hands.
No, if I see somebody, I'll let you know too.
Okay, perfect. All right. Any other questions? Oh, it's also easier for me. Now, this is for the other, for the portal that I asked that all documents should be combined into one file to upload, but it's also easier for me as I go through it. I only have to download and look at one document. So if you have more than one permission that you need, if you can just put them into a binder, an Adobe binder, or just copy and paste them all to a Word document and just upload that one, it would be a lot easier to go through. And also it helps you keep track of things. All right. Any other questions on site permission? Any questions on social media recruitment? No? Okay, perfect. All right, recruitment material. We need to see your recruitment material. What are you going to post? Where are you going to post it? That should be in the other question. Now I want to see the wording of what you're going to use to recruit. So whether it be flyers, the exact wording of the posting that you're going to put on social media, or the email templates if you're going to do mass email for recruitment, I'd like to see what you're going to use to make sure that you have all of the information that's needed. You're expressing what the research is going to entail and how you're going to do it, and so on and so forth. So that should be included in question 6. Any questions about recruitment material? Great. Question 7 is the informed consent. You can find the template in step 6, submit the IRB section 6.5 informed consent and other templates. The template should not be submitted without removing all directions of completion and or sections that are not used. If you are completing a qualitative study and you are doing interviews and you are recording those interviews on Zoom or any other electronic device or even a handheld recorder, you must notify the participant of recording. So that should be in your informed consent. So don't delete that if you need to use that. If you don't need to use that and you're using a survey, please make sure that that section is deleted. Okay, so it's only a template of where you should go. It's not strictly what you need to have in your informed consent specifically, and it'll tell you what sections are optional. Ensure that the risks and benefits of your study are clearly explained to your potential participants, especially for your discipline. It is very important that I look at the risks and benefits of your research to make sure that anything is mitigated if needed. You guys do a lot of research that can cause triggering, I guess you would say, talking about past experiences, talking about things. So I have to make sure that you have a mitigation plan in place in case anyone of the participants are triggered by anything, or if, it's just not, okay, I'm going to opt out. Even if somebody opts out halfway through, there could be potential for risk. So we just want to make sure that we're covering all those bases. So the more you explain it clearly, how you thought this out and how you will mitigate it, the better off I am to approve it. Contact information, please make sure that you include your contact information, your chair's contact information, and the IRB. If any participant has an issue with your application or your study or your process and how you're going through it, they will contact IRB and investigation will take place. So please make sure, some of them are frivolous, but some of them are contacted for a reason. So you must have the IRB at a minimum as a contact information. If they can download the informed consent and save the informed consent from a survey, it is optimal. But if you don't, you can notify them on the bottom of the informed consent that they can print it out, or they can take a screenshot of the information if they need it after the study is complete. But that's optional, that's up to you. Online survey, we're looking for the links in question 8 for the online survey, the questionnaire, or the recruitment survey. So if you're sending out a demographic recruitment survey to gain participants and you're just asking them if they would fit your study, I need to see that link for that. For the online survey, if you're doing a quantitative or if you're doing a questionnaire, I need to see a link for that. So basically, we're just making sure that it's set up correctly. You're asking the correct questions, and that we're ensuring that it can be accessed also. So for example, if you put it on a Google form and you restrict viewing and you send that link into me and I can't get to it, I'm going to deny your application. You're going to have to reapply so that I can go in and look at that survey to make sure that everything's in there. When you're doing a survey, yes, Nicholas?
Yeah, I had a question about the informed consent, just to go back a little bit. If we're doing an anonymous survey, are you, and let's say somebody decides later on that they no longer want their information to be used as part of the survey, are you looking for something in our proposal to demonstrate how we're going to be able to track that person, or like whether it be an ID number or what?
No, if you're sufficiently doing an anonymous survey, you should not be able to track that person that wants to be removed. The only thing you can tell that person is that, you know, your information will be deleted at the end of the archival period for the research. They opt out of the study. If they opt out of the study halfway through, you can identify them because half of their survey is incomplete. But that would be the only way that you can identify them. And if you can identify them by that, then that can be removed because you need to do that anyway to clean your data.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Okay. Let me see. Oh, yes. If you're doing a survey, please ensure that your informed consent is on the first page and there is an opt-out on the first page after that informed consent. It's not sufficient enough to just say, hey, here's the informed consent, go to the next page and start the survey. You need to have that opt-out option at the bottom of it, just for ethical reasons. You know, you need to give the participant a chance if they don't like where the research is heading to opt out of it. Okay, data collection instrument. All right, this is what I'm looking for in the data collection instrument. If you're doing a quantitative study, this is more specifically for this. I am looking for the instrument and its originality. So whether you give me a link which to an article, which is fine, but it makes me do a little bit more work if you can just give me a copy of the article and where the instrument is so I can see the constructs. I can see the questions and I can match that up with your survey. Perfect. Also, providing me the survey or questionnaire link, again, so I can match it up, and then permissions for the instrument. Even if it is open source, or not open source, but Creative Commons license, or you looked it up on APA PsycTest and it's available for free of use for educational purposes, please just give me a copy of that says, hey, this is okay for me to use through APA Psych or wherever. That makes my job a little bit easier, and it also is saved then for your record so that you can prove it if you need to. All right, but permissions from the author, the original author that you're going to use their instrument from, is needed for any type of quantitative instrument. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk about pilot studies, but if you are creating your own, that's a whole nother process that you're going to go through. You're going to have to go through the creation of the instrument, determine the validity and reliability of it, prove that, and then you can go on to test that instrument. And that is part of the pilot study that you can apply for. But I'm trying to keep it simple tonight. All right, so what's needed for the data collection instrument, quantitative versus qualitative study? We're looking at the original instrument for the quantitative, the instrument in the form of how the participants will respond to the survey link, and the permission for use of the instrument. For qualitative, I'm looking for the interview questions. Now, this is for the other disciplines. I already know that you guys are already mapping your RQs and lit, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do need to see the interview questions, especially if you're looking at something that's a little bit more behavioral or psychologically connected to potential ethical concerns. I really need to see your interview questions and what you're asking, just to make sure that we're gauging that correctly. And I'm sure your chairs are going through that already, and I don't have to worry about it, but we just ask to keep it on file. And then the questionnaire questions, if needed, if you're just, that should be in your link that you provided us with. Any questions about the data collection instrument or permissions or anything that's needed there? All right, cool. This stuff is easy. 10 through 12, your title, your degree, your program. I get a lot of this questions from you guys, and I'm so sorry, but I can't change the form right now. So when you get down to program and your program is not specifically noted, please just put down counseling or health science. I know that you guys are using this system, so I know who you are and I know who to contact. So just don't, freak out about it. Counseling is good. Okay. I didn't forget about you. I just can't change the form. All right, questions 13 to 19 are easy also. You're just going to put your name, student ID, UC email address. The only thing I want to say about this stuff is if you do not provide your correct email address, and if you do not provide your faculty advisor's correct email address, they will not get the confirmation of approval or denial. Okay, so if you're not getting anything back, chances are you may have put in the email address incorrectly. If a faculty member didn't receive it, you may have messed up their email address. But I usually see that and I try to correct it, but sometimes I miss it. So that's just something to look at. In what class are you submitting an application? You guys are going to choose other, because right now it's all the other disciplines DSRT courses, which are their dissertation courses, as options. Just click other and put in whatever course you're in. That works. And then the estimated start date of the project. This is just your best projection of the start date for data collection. Okay. It's not the be all end all. It's just an estimated. Question 20. Will human subjects be recruited for this study? I know this is an easy question, but a lot of people make it more complex than it is, so I just want to go through it. This question is dependent upon your application. So basically, if you're doing de-identified data with no live subjects, you can say, no, it's not human subject research. If you're doing an anonymous survey with no identifiable data, AI algorithmic generated variables, which I'm sure you may or may not be using, and application model testing, and then program evaluation with no live subjects. However, if you're doing a program evaluation, you maybe should bump it up a little bit if you're going to use it as a dissertation. So just make sure that if you say no, that you really mean no. You're using some kind of archival data, you're using a secondary data source. Most of the time, if you're doing any type of recruitment, you are going to be working with human subjects. And again, I just want to reiterate, we don't have non-human subject research here at UC. You're going to put in for an exempt status, and I may give you back in your email, you are approved through non-human subject research. Okay, 21, personally identifiable information. So private information to be collected from existing records. So if you look under the IRB step 5, 5.3, and then in section 8, I have a long list that I kind of talked about before of all the things that both federally and UC consider personally identifiable or private information. Okay, you may require to change your application to a full application depending on the information you are requesting to collect from study participants. If you are, this will be reviewed by the full board committee. The full board committee will meet every Wednesday, every third Wednesday of the month. It's not a big deal to put in a full board, but it's just a little extra work. So just be cognizant of the time that it may take to go through the approval process. Yes, Tammy?
I have a question about that. So my interview is less structured because it's a grounded theory, and I don't have questions that ask specifically for private information. However, students, or not students, but participants may share and to support their responses or that sort of thing. That means that I am assuming that we'll be sharing private information, yes, even if I'm not directly asking for it. Okay.
I know what you're saying, but you're not asking for it, they're disclosing it. So there's a difference there. If you were posed the interview question as such, then it would be considered personal identifiable information. If they're self identifying it, then there's, that's on their own accord.
Right. Specifically, I'm asking about mental health topics that they view through social media, but not necessarily their mental health history. Does that make sense? So I don't know if, anyway.
As long as, you're just asking for you're asking for the perception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, perception or, perception attitudes.
Or behaviors, but that as long as you're not asking do you have a DSM-5 diagnosis, and what is it, and how do you feel about this? As long as those things aren't in there and they freely disclose that information, you can use it.
Okay. All right.
Because you're not setting up for that.
Okay, thank you.
But just make sure that it stays unidentifiable, because even if the data you collect and as you're going through it, and I'm sure your chair is going to walk you through this, but if there's anything that can be identifiable that you're writing about, they're going to put the kibosh to that to make sure that that doesn't happen. But as long as you're not posing it, you're good.
Okay.
Thanks for the question. Any other question? Yes, no? Cool. All right. Question 22, does the study involve any of,
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, it just took me, I was slow getting to my mic button. So you said it might go to the full board depending on the information you're requesting to collect. Could you give some examples of what you mean by that? I mean, what would be?
Sure, so actually this slide here is a great example of what would go up for a full board.
Okay,
so
perfect, thank you.
Anybody that is looking at any work with prisoners, neonates, which we don't really do, pregnant women, in vitro fertilization, review of medical or other records. The information is recorded in such a way that participants can be identified directly or through identifiers linked to the participants. We're looking at surveys of interview techniques, which include minors. Okay, so anybody under the age of 18. The observation of minors if the research participants in the activities being observed. So if anybody's under that umbrella of 18, we need to get a full board permission for that. Techniques which expose participants to discomfort or embarrassment. Discomfort can include triggering or any other, if they have PTSD and you're asking them to recount an experience of what happened, that could be considered discomfort. And also the deception of research participants. So those are usually the ones that will go up to a full board. But I know we try our best to kind of mitigate anything that may be deceptive or discomfort or embarrass any of our participants. Hi, Nicholas, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I think you actually kind of answered my question a little bit, but and I was actually talking with Dr. Stretch about this, if this would be a potential issue with IRB in terms of how, and I don't think it will be, but so for example, I'm asking basically participants are agreeing to participate with the understanding that their data may not be used for research purposes, because of one of the questions of how I'm screening participants and to limit bias of other participants participating. So it's not necessarily deceptive, but it may not be, their information may not be used in the study. And I'm curious if that would be something that would be an issue for something like this.
Is it your choice that you're eliminating those records?
Mickey, in this
That
case, it
don't
has
need-
to do with whether or not they have anxiety or not.
Oh, so the people that do have anxiety, you're going to include. The people that don't, you're not going to include. That's just a, yeah, that's something that me and Dr. Stretch will talk about it, but I don't see that it would be, you're just using that as a demographic. They can choose to state it or not. So they can choose to disclose it or not. But yeah, but we'll talk about it a little bit more because I kind of get a feel of the different variables that are out there. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't answer your question, Nicholas.
No, that's okay. Thank you, though.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right. So ensure you read all the categories for whatever application you're going to use. So, and what it includes. So exempt, no more than a minimal risk, and expedited. Subjects are recruited and data is collected, involves identifiable participant information potentially. Now, when they say that, it's a potential identifiable information. If you're looking at doing a study in a center with 12 employees that are going to be